Welcome to A Bit of Board Games, a casual podcast documenting the many failures and hopefully successes of Waffle Games, as we learn the ins and outs of board game design and self-publishing. Join us on this journey as we talk about a bit of life, a bit of design, and a bit of board games. Welcome back to another episode of A Bit of Board Games. This is episode 72, and today is September 6th, 2023. I'm your host, Steven, game designer, artist, just, cool guy sometimes. And with me today is Ralph, game designer and art director, and Trevor, special guest, game designer, operations dude, and a fan of a losing football team. So anyway.
Low blow early on.
Just thought we'd, start it out right. Your team's not been doing too good though, have they? Huskers there.
Okay, when they've played one game, it's hard to say they haven't been doing too good.
So of all the games they've played, they have not been doing
but haven't been doing too good infers like a period of time.
So since the season started, they've been on a losing streak, right?
Oh man. If I could say things that are not on the podcast right now, I would.
Yeah. Anyway, how are you doing? Besides sports.
Good. My daughter started walking within the last 2 weeks, and she is all over the place, and I'm like fearful of her life at all times because she'll just like come flying around the corner, and you're just like, "Whoa!" And she'll just like face plant on the wood, and but I mean, it's part of the learning process, so I gotta, take my protectiveness away a little bit and say, all right, you got it. You'll figure it out.
Dude, Henry hit his head all the time. Like he would just fall just like straight like back a lot of times and just go kunk. Just like pause and then screaming. Yeah. Now his screaming is usually just tantrums. So like he was grabbing laundry out of the laundry baskets, the clean laundry, and like my wife took it away from him. She's like, no, like you can't play with the laundry. And he just screamed, ran into the other side of the house, and just like one loud scream, and then it was just silent. And then he's just like full face, just like not breathing, screaming, and just like on the floor, like face down. And then I had to go over there and like blow in his face so he'd take a breath in, because it was a solid like 15 seconds that he just like was not breathing, because he was just like built up this backlog of this scream, and then finally got it out, and then it was just really loud for a while. But
wow.
It's super interesting.
Kids are weird.
Yeah. Ralph, how you doing? How's any more bee stings? Any lawn improvements?
Any cat catastrophes?
Hey.
Well, there's so many things I could update you on. Which direction do I want to go? I guess I'll start good with a reveal.
Ooh.
Oh. Hey. Waffle Games t-shirt for those of you listening.
I just got it in the mail today.
Nice, dude.
It probably arrived sooner than that, but I've been out. I've been at the beach. And we just got back yesterday evening. So I, checked mail and everything. So finally got it. I think they're awesome. They're super comfy.
It's really comfy, dude.
Yeah. Great merch.
Good. Glad you like it.
But on the topic of who asked that? Bee stings?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Funny you should ask that.
Oh no.
No way.
My life has been just a series of unfortunate events lately, kind of. Aside from going on a vacation, I guess, but like certain things just have really bad timing. Like we've been hit by a heat wave lately. It's going to last for maybe, a few more days, and it looks like it will cool down after that. But we've been hit with a massive heat wave.
Like how hot?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we're 83, just.
Dude, it's been like 90 for like weeks here.
Well,
high 80s.
But like for
heat wave for them.
Also, we don't have the humidity, so that sucks too.
Mm-hmm. Fair. But for here, that's a bit worse than it has been, and where the timing is bad. Literally, we got floors put in, and the day after that was finally over. Our AC is not really working very well. No. And then we got hit immediately with a bad heat wave, so it has been sweltering in here.
Oh, dude.
Got a guy coming out to look at it tomorrow.
Got a guy.
Got a guy to look at it again because he came by today, but he couldn't look at it today because there was a yellow jacket's nest right beside the freaking AC unit.
Oh, man.
Another one. So tonight I'm gonna have to do another stealth mission at 11:30 sharp to end them once and for all, hopefully for the summer anyway. But then so that sucks. It's so annoying. I wanted to get that addressed, but he did say it doesn't look like we need a whole new unit, which is good because it's very expensive.
Yep.
It just looks like it might be some issue outside, or like he said, if that doesn't work, he'll check the attic. I don't really know what goes into it, but also like we've had car troubles lately. I promise I'm going to shut up after this.
No, keep talking.
Ralph's a trouble man.
There's so many things. It's not good. But we had car troubles, and because of that, we bought a car, which is exciting, kind of. But it's been a long time coming. We've actually waited a while to buy a car. We've tossed ideas around, talked about it, but finally, because of all the car trouble, we decided to pull the trigger. The night that we brought it home, my cat found a way to breach into the garage and walk all over the new car, which is so
I like that.
Then the very night
he has never done this. Siege there.
He has never done this before. He has made his way into the garage, put his grubby little paws all over the new car, which is really. It's not a new car. It's like a used car, but it's still exciting and I like it. It's newer, so I want it to be as nice as long as possible, Yeah. So him just putting his little paws on it just drives me crazy.
I think there's only one solution here. You got to cut off his feet.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think Trevor likes cats.
Yeah.
I'm kind of reading into this thing.
A little bit.
Seems like he's not a cat guy. I do love my cat, and usually he's great. He's just very curious, I suppose, and this is a new room he can get into, so obviously he's going to try to get into it. So, we even latched the door, and he's found a way to still get in. So, I don't know what my options are now. I'm going to have to
cut off his
feet. Some peaceful options.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Cut off his toes.
Straight jacket so that he just can't move.
Get rid of him.
Cat seal.
No, I love
Give him to some nice kids.
Hey, nice kids. Trevor, that's the most positive option that you've given. So
yeah,
nice. Give him to some nice kids that like to eat cat.
Well, okay. So the yellow jacket thing made me remember something that we've got going on here. I didn't get stung, but we've had so many yellow jackets like behind our in our backyard area, and we can't sit outside and eat on our deck just because they're just everywhere. I'm like, I don't want my kids to get stung.
Sure you don't have a nest?
Oh, I'm sure we do somewhere. I don't know where it is.
Oh, okay.
But so we got these yellow jacket traps catcher things, which looks like almost like a hummingbird feeder thing. It's like this little cone type thing with.
That's so funny. We got the exact same thing recently.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. So someone Rick from the same group that our wives are in recommended it to Libby. So I wonder if the same person referred.
Oh, interesting.
Our wife. We hung it up yesterday, and it's like it got vinegar and water and something that like attracts them to it. And so it's got like holes on the outside that kind of like funnel in, so they can like fly in and then make their way in, but they can't get back out. And dude, I just looked at like while we were eating dinner today, and there's like 20 of them. There are seriously 20 of them floating in this water, like dead. And I'm like, how are there this many of them even here? Like, I mean, yeah, there's at least one nest somewhere. I've done a cursory search for it, but nothing extensive.
They can be hard to spot.
Yeah, well, especially with our deck. I'm like, I don't want to go look under every like
under the deck. It would be really hard. Yeah,
and I'm assuming that's where it is because I've looked.
You're putting yourself in a vulnerable position if you do that too.
Yeah, and I've found black widows under there before, so like I'm not risking that. So
there is one way to track. I mean, it basically like because the one that's beside the AC unit, it's not an obvious hole. It's like this. I actually took a quarter today and I threw it as close to the hole as possible. Because I knew that I'd be going at it tonight and I wanted a real easy visual for tonight.
Right. Yeah.
So but like if you watch them go out and then come back, if you watch them come back and where they come back to, usually they're headed for the nest. So if you just see a majority go towards a certain area, you might be able to spot the general location.
Or you could just tie a like tracking beacon on one of them.
Yeah, and just on their ankle.
Right. Well,
true.
Probably their abdomen's easier, but
I guess, that's a fail-proof way to do it.
Yes,
it will work.
You just gotta catch one, you know. We should have done a live stream tonight and do a live stream of Ralph eliminating this nest.
It's something else.
Yeah.
It must look pretty funny because I take like a pot. I'm gonna do the same thing I did last time. I fill it with Dawn dish soap, and water, and then boil it, and then I walk out there with my stupid oven mitt and run out with my flashlight, and I dump it and run away as fast as possible. I'm sure it looks great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Oh man.
Your neighbors just see this guy like pouring water on the side of his house and then like running away.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it looks like.
Make sure you do it in like a bathrobe and wearing like flip flops or something to look as ridiculous as possible.
That'd be so funny.
Man. Anyway, so yeah, I guess we haven't done too much on the board game last week.
We decided some stuff on corruption. I don't know if we want to talk about it or.
Oh yeah, we got some stuff to talk about. You're right.
Yeah.
So we made lots of decisions without Ralph. So we're actually making a new game now. That joke probably gets old. We talk about that every
I did listen to the last podcast.
Okay.
So I'm up to date as far as what your discussion was there.
I think we talked a little bit after that. Trevor and I
think
did.
so. I think so. So we talked
last
week about it.
I did catch Ralph up mostly on it. Yeah, because Ralph and I chatted like the day after that.
We talked on Wednesday about it last week. So if you talked to him since
on Thursday, I caught him up and we brainstormed some stuff there to just kind of get his opinion on it. Oh, and then also I pulled the community. I went to
where'd you pull him to?
I pulled him right off the cliff. I asked the question.
You could have gone to a lot nicer places.
it's just where it went. So right off a very short cliff into the water. We were cliff jumping, Trevor. Come on.
There you go.
Just trying to get people out of their comfort zone.
Yep.
So on Board Game Design Lab on their Facebook group, which if you're designing games, it is a great place to be because everyone is super helpful. And you can ask questions and you'll get several responses, like almost guaranteed. So that's super helpful. Let me find. Here we go. Okay. So I came to them with this question specifically about corruption because last time we talked about one of the pieces of feedback was that the game could still feel complete without corruption. And the thought was that corruption could be making it more complex than it needed to be, and so like if we removed corruption, it could streamline some of the main gameplay, still with a lot of variety and other things too. So, in Board Game Design Lab community, I said, question for you all. What are your thoughts on first print Kickstarter games that include small expansions with added content / features? Do you like this or feel like these expansions should have just been included in the original game? For example, our game Foundry is a crafting card combat game where you craft blueprint cards, weapons, defenses, and tools to fight your opponents and defend your forge. There's a lot more to the lore, but that's not relevant right now. We currently have several categories of items with different unique / thematic functions. One of the category is a corruption type that does lingering damage, like poison. During playtests, we've had feedback that this item type and mechanic is fun, but not necessarily essential to the core game. We have other ideas for other themed expansions of cards and features, wondering if we should pull corruption out to simplify the core game, but don't want it to just seem like we're being greedy by making people pay for this content. So, that's the spiel there. So we got like 3 answers from different people. Someone said there's what gamers think that matters and what they actually do when presented with it. Or what gamers think that matter and what they do when presented with it. Most people will say they don't like these sort of made up Kickstarter expansions, but then they'll probably be the first to criticize the campaign when compared to another game as not offering as much. So as a board gamer, the answer is clear, but as a marketing guy, the answer is also clear. So I took that to mean essentially like if you have like expansions added, they're like, oh, why isn't this just in the game? But at the same time, if you don't have other like more things to offer and add-ons and stuff, they'll see it as not offering as much as some other game. So I think some of that will boil down to like the price point and the size of the core game, and then how big is the expansion, how much content it's actually adding.
It just reminds me of like when video games are released and like there's like marketing teams that will like sit down and like discuss the game leading up to it, trying to like, get some publicity around it. And during the, as there's like a live feed going through, like if this marketing team like is blatantly avoiding like certain topics or like trying to make their game sound better than it really is, people are like, flipping out and upset because they're not telling the truth. And then on the flip side, if they go, well, we decided not to do that because of this, and that, there's some people that are like, oh, I'm glad they're honest. But the majority of the people are like, well, if they know that's the issue, then why aren't they doing it? It's like, it's like as a marketer, you got to make money, but then at the same time, you want to continue to be able to provide content and be honest with your group. And there's layers of communication to the people that you're, selling your product to. So anyway.
Yeah. I'll read through these other answers real quick and then we'll talk about it. Another guy said they pay either way. If you include it in the extra components and the extra components increase the purchase and shipping prices. And if you don't include it, so if you include it, the extra components increase prices. And if they don't like the game, they've wasted money on it. He said, I'd go with a streamlined product to see if it's successful, and then can always do expansions and add-ons later. Another guy says, totally do not think that should be in the base game instead of an expansion. That was in quotes. Bottom pledge level is base game. Higher pledge levels include expansions. Most people are like me and think that makes perfect, and I think that makes perfect sense. Another guy said, I think Root's first Kickstarter was a good example. It was an expansion, but it was substantial. If you're building an expansion just for the Kickstarter, nah. If you're splitting something out of the base game just to make an expansion, nah. If there's an expansion and you're thinking of adding it to the pledges, that sounds just fine. So
again, to me, that just means how do we communicate this? Because if we communicate it as this is the base game and then here's an expansion, whereas if you go, this was the base game and we took pieces out of it to make an expansion, it's just it's the perception. Sure. You know what I mean?
And that perception too, like our game is still in the prototyping phase. So like if we take anything out of the game right now, people aren't going to feel like they're missing out because they don't know it was ever in the game.
Right. And context is everything.
And if we're taking it out because it's not working or like because we want it to add as a separate thing, like it's not like, hey, we announced this game, here's all the stuff. And then it's like later like, oh, but if you actually want the complete game, you have to pay this. So it's not, I'm not viewing it like we're just piecing out our game to make extra money. It's more of like, how much extra, how could we make the corruption mechanic, which we've been messed around with a lot. Like, how can we make that a good experience and fun? Which Ralph and I actually had another idea on how to do corruption. So the current version is that you get 2 corruption, you add 2 corruption cubes to your health tracker. If you don't cure it at the end of your turn as part of that action, it cycles down 2, you take that 2 damage, and then it increases. But then you have to use one of those actions. So we're talking about taking that away from that action pile for the core game is what we were talking about. So then there's the issue is when we do add corruption, how do you cure it? And so we had this idea after doing some brainstorming where what if corruption, which we talked this part about it, what if corruption is a status effect? So like, hey, you got corrupted.
You're corrupted or not.
You're corrupted or not. And maybe it's maybe it's an amount of turns. Maybe it's like, hey, you're corrupted twice, like you're corrupted for 2 turns. The difference with this now, we add a corruption die, like a dice. And this the results of that roll will determine how much damage you take. You like at the top of your turn every time you roll to see if you take 1 damage, 2 damage, or if you cure it. So like, or like nothing happens and you cure it. So if you're only corrupted, so let's say like if we do it like as a corruption like 1, 2, and 3 turns, say you just put like 3 corruption tokens in front of you. Beginning of each turn, you take 1 off and you roll the corruption die to see what happens to you that turn. And so like if you get standard roll, like say like a 1 is 2 damage, a 2 through 5 is 1 damage, and then a 6 is you cure it. So like if you are corrupted 3 times and you get the cure, you're clear now. Or we don't do the cure and it's always like 1 or 2 or 0 damage and not cure it. So then
if you get corrupted again, does it just reset it, or how does that work?
Yeah, it would just like stack unless if you've cured them, then yeah, I guess that could, like if I'm corrupted like twice and then someone else hits me again and then I now have like 4 corruption, turns. Okay, what if we did 2 dice again, like shade cores, and if you get doubles, it cures it in a sense like that. It's like you roll the 2 dice. And
I mean, I like the idea. I don't think we need to land on a decision now.
Yeah,
I think this is definitely intriguing though. I like
it keeps the same dice rolling mechanics that we have as throughout the game.
Right.
It doesn't require a specific action to get rid of corruption.
Right. It's just another thing that you're doing on your turn.
Yeah. Which is
I'm open to that.
Cool. Yeah, we can get into details another time and like test it and figure stuff out. But I really like that approach. Ralph, did you have any other thoughts on corruption and stuff?
Yeah, we had this discussion because it's weird because people seem to keep having negative experiences with corruption. Whereas in my game, I actually had a great time with corruption, which is why when Steven initially... Yeah, because it was like my only edge. I was playing mostly damage, and the items that I was getting happened to be corruption. So it was cool that I was seeing those items do their work. And so I really enjoyed that element of the game, which is why when Steven brought to me the notion of maybe removing that, I had some pushback, but we have since talked about it a little bit and talked about reworking the corruption. And I like the idea of it being a status effect. It feels pretty natural. My only comments would be, and Trevor's right, we don't have to figure this out right now at all, but my only thoughts tend to be, yes, it should compound. Like you should be able to keep using corruption and stack it against your opponents, right? That's what gives corruption items their edge, is maybe a slow process to deal damage, but effective with a snowball kind of effect. However, the counterbalance of that should be maybe it should be somewhat to relatively easy to cure. So where I don't know, like the system I was thinking was you roll 1, you do 2 damage, you get 2 damage. 2 through 4 is 1 damage, and then 5 and 6 is actually going to be like some kind of cure. just to make it a little, just so that you don't have such low odds of curing every time.
Yeah. I guess it depends on how we do it. So what I was saying was like, if you're corrupted once, it goes away after one turn anyway. Unless that seems like too lame. Because then it's like, hey,
I see what you mean.
Because like
a set time.
Right, because I don't know how we'd increase.
Well, different items could also corrupt for longer periods depending on,
Yeah, that was the issue I was trying to solve, because like Mastercraft ones will do like 3 corruption. Whereas right now that would be like, hey, that's 3 chunks on your board. And so like it does more. It gets progressively more corruption damage if you don't cure it, for the higher rarity things. Whereas like if we just did a status effect, I was like, how do we keep that same thing where like a Mastercraft item that does corruption feels like it's doing more corruption? And
there's some cool emerging mechanics that could arise from that as well. And this would be only, I think, if we did add it as a separate expansion, like really flesh out the mechanic and really add a lot of areas to it. But you could almost do like the system where it's a number that you roll, like maybe you go back to just the 6 being the cure if we're going to do a duration, because then it's like harder to cure, but there is a set duration, so you're not totally screwed. However, if you go down like maybe a certain path, there's an added bonus of you get to roll 2 die to cure, and that's just like some unique ability that you get if you make a certain decision. That could be kind of an interesting thing.
Okay, I just thought of an idea, not directly related to corruption, but could set the tone for other expansions and stuff. So what if like we had a unique corruption die that's like not a regular 6-sided die, but we do like a D12 or something. And like, because I just love D12s. They're just really fun to roll. They're really cool. And so like Trevor, do you remember the game Dead of Winter?
Yes, the zombie game.
Yeah. So it's a really fun board game. But every time you like move between locations in this game, you have to roll the exposure die, which is a 12-sided die. And to see if you get like wounded, if nothing happens, or if you get like frostbite. And so there's like one side on that 12-sided die is like a really bad thing where you pretty much like just die, like frostbite or something. And like you'll die next turn if you don't do anything about it. But then there's like at least half of them as well that like do like a wound to you or something. So like that is an interesting piece of that like gives you more variety on what could happen. So I'm wondering like, so anyway, so my idea is like, hey, if we have expansions that like introduce a chunk of cards, what if each expansion has a set of cards and a new die that is like unique to that expansion? And so like every new set we include has either a different like amount of sides, and like it acts differently, because then it's like that's kind of cool to get an expansion that's like, hey, like it's these cards and this die and this like box that comes with it.
It would feel more like an expansion,
and it's introducing like a very unique mechanic,
right?
And like
and
each time
it would also make you want to buy it more, I think, too, because just a card set, I mean, that's pretty cool. You get a lot of artwork, but to also get a little die that's like,
it's just
this cool little
item. I'm excited thinking about it. I'm like, I just want to collect all these dice.
Yeah, so you'd want to have the full set. Yeah, right? So
I don't know. I think that could be really cool. I mean, that was a random idea with that. In other news, I started working on some of the updates that we talked about, based on the last playtest at the convention. And very quickly, another convention is coming up that I need to get ready for, and I'm not ready for it.
It's gonna be fun. You're gonna love it.
I know, but so there's a lot I have to do. So next Tuesday, the 12th, I was planning on bringing our game to a game design meetup at a local game store to playtest before the weekend that was like a week from Saturday. This on the 16th is BCon, which is another board game convention in Denver, and that's where I'm going for this other convention. I signed up for this Prototype Alley event, which is an hour-long event, and you have to set up like a 10 to 15 minute demo of your game, and then publishers, designers, other people will just like speed date through a bunch of games and like play 10 to 15 minutes of like 10 minutes of your game or something and just get an idea. So I have to script out like what people's starting hands are, like what cards they have, so they can just like get an experience of what the whole game could be in a condensed couple of turns. So I haven't even like I've like thought about it, but I haven't even got into that. So we might need to like maybe the three of us could jump on Tabletop Simulator sometime in the next week or so.
Take a look at how to best do that.
Yeah, and just like think through and like plan that out a little bit. I think could be helpful. And there's a few minor adjustments I need to make some card verbiage. But no, I don't want to print them again. Maybe I'll just use the cards I used at this last convention because overall they were still fine. Yeah. I need to update the boards. Oh, the other thing we need to figure out is what we're gonna do with the actions. What were we? Oh no, we did figure that out.
We talked about it.
Yeah. Ralph, I think I talked about it with you too. How we're the current action buckets, as they have been called.
Mm-hmm.
We're changing the first one to just be craft blueprints.
Yeah.
The second one is draw 2 blueprints, discard 1. And okay, so is that discard 1 of the 2 you drew? So is it like draw 2 and keep 1, or is it draw 2 and discard any one from your hand?
I was imagining it being draw 2 and discard one of the ones you just drew. Okay, that would make more sense.
That's
right?
What I think too. Yeah,
I think that's what you do.
It's like, hey, here's your 2 options for what you can craft. I'm gonna keep this one,
and then you just pick one.
Okay, good to clarify that. And then the last action. What should we call the last action now? So we have like, first one is just craft blueprints. The second one is gather, and you're getting blueprints and scrap. And then the third one now is craft shade cores and fill shade cores, like at the siphon. So like, do we name them thematically and be like, use the siphon, or like?
We'll have to think about it. I'm not good at this sort of stuff on the fly, but yeah.
Shade.
Get shady.
Get shady with it. Stupid.
Yeah. So that's the other thing I was to think through what that's gonna be called. So, something to do with shade, cores, energy.
Yeah, maybe something relating to the forge.
What if? Well, yeah, they're all. I mean, it's all like. What if these are all just like different stations you're going to at your forge? Because like it's all at the forge. Like, you get new blueprints and I guess the resources. I don't know where that one comes in, but I don't know where you're actually getting them from in the lore, but they just appear.
They show up. You Amazon Prime them.
Yeah.
In the forge trial grounds.
Yeah, I mean, like the idea in my head is like they're like assignments handed to you from like for your forge trials. So it's like, hey, like here's options of things you can craft, and like you get a stipend of amount of scrap each turn is kind of like, so you can go and like pick that up or whatever. I don't know.
The way I think of it is you're resourceful. You're like a resourceful person. You go in, and so the amount of scrap that you get each turn is just you existing in this space and like scavenging and finding in the area, and it's just kind of an automatic thing for the game, but in universe your person is actually going around and like doing things.
Where are you finding the blueprints though? Like, how are you getting those
blueprints? Well, you have a pre-existing knowledge maybe, or a roster of blueprints that you've been trained to craft, and so it just comes down to the resources that you gather to decide which ones you want to go for.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, so let's say like I don't think we can name the first one Craft anymore because you also can craft cores later on too. So, do we just?
What do you do with the first one?
Craft blueprints. What if it just says like craft blueprints, and then the second one is collect resources, and then the third one is shade cores. Do the cores. Use the siphon. Shade siphon.
Ralph's not a fan, dude.
No, I'm thinking.
It's a brainstorm session, Trevor. We're spitballing things. No bad ideas.
All bad ideas.
Well, also that, but
you could cut out the action part of it. You could say, okay, blueprints. But it is an action, so you need an action.
Option 1. Option 2. Option 3. Anyway, we can talk about this offline, as they say, in the work business video call.
I will say something that just came to mind is over the course of my vacation, I played a board game.
What did you play? What is it?
Okay, we played. I'm trying to remember the name.
Oh no!
It's called
Gosh.
No. I remember. It's called Horrified.
Oh yeah, Trevor has that game.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I do.
It's a fun game.
You're a vampire.
Yeah, vampire and like the not the Loch Ness monster, the
Frankenstein's monster, isn't it?
No. The thing from the Black Lagoon or whatever
it's like
creature of the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
So played that game with my brother-in-law, who I think I've mentioned is a crazy board game fanatic.
Yeah. Did you tell him you're working on a board game?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he knows.
Nice.
He's tuned into a couple episodes.
Oh, nice.
But so we played that game, and he described it, and it's the first time I ever played it. He described it to me, all this stuff, and let me tell you, I'm not throwing shade here, but
he's about to throw shade.
I had a way more enjoyable experience playing Foundry and the process of learning Foundry than I did this game. I don't know if it was just the mood I was in or what, but I really had a good time playing Foundry, and this game maybe didn't hook me as much, and that's genuine. That's a genuine.
I'm gonna email Horrified right now and say, "Suck it."
Our game is better. You can't find it and play it, but just trust me, it's better.
No, it's an interesting game. It's definitely pretty fun. I like that it's like kind of a co-op survival game. It's kind of cool, but
yeah, I only played it like one time with Trevor, and it was fun. I think it looked visually.
I enjoyed it.
Good too.
Yeah. It seemed like gosh, there is one game that I actually really enjoy, and I can't remember what it is, but it's like I think it's another vampire one, and you're trying to go from like one place to another, and you're trying to stay one step ahead of the bad guy. Is that what it is?
Well, someone plays as Dracula, and they're trying to stay away from everyone else. And everyone else is trying to like track them down.
I've only played it once, and it was super fun.
Fury of Dracula is good. It can be a really long game, but
yeah, it can.
It's really fun. Yeah, so like Dracula will like leave behind certain cards, and so like if people go to a town that he has been in and like do a certain thing, like action or something, like one of those cards will flip, and it could be like, oh, like he left behind these bats to attack you, and so you have to do combat against them, or it could be nothing. And if you encounter it during the day versus at night, it's like during the day, you're usually more okay. But you're essentially like, and then you're like, okay, he was here, 3 turns ago. And so now it's like, he's now 3 spaces away, which means he could have gone here, or like here. So you're trying to like a process of elimination, trying to essentially corner him on the map. But like all of Dracula's movements are hidden. And so like he has his own little space, that like board that he's kind of tracking where he's going, and no one else, like it's not visible on the main map. It's pretty interesting.
I think it's a cool concept. Like I said, I've only played it once, so I think that the thrill of the first time play was really exciting. I don't know if it would be as much fun like multiple games in, but it seemed like I'd love to play it again. So
yeah. I want to play it as Dracula sometime. I've only ever played it as someone hunting Dracula, so it's interesting. But anyway, I think that's all the time we have for this episode. You guys have anything? You good? We're clear.
I think we're good. Leaves are starting to turn yellow. It's about to be fall. It's about to be winter after fall, and then I'm gonna lose my mind.
Christmas.
Okay, Christmas is cool. Christmas is legit. It's like it's a fun holiday and it's pretty awesome. But it's like one day out of the entire winter.
Yeah, and technically it's like, wait, doesn't winter start like end of November? So yeah, like, it's only like a month into winter, and then like so then it's like Christmas ends, and then winter is still like 2 months, and you're just like, okay,
no,
I'm
winter's
done.
like in Colorado. Winter's like 5 more months after that.
Well, yeah, but we get random
December,
like,
January, February, March, April, May. There's still snow.
No, we get snow. It is not just there isn't snow. We get like
May is like 10 feet of snow.
Without a doubt, the day after New Year's Day is the most depressing day of the entire year.
I know, dude. It's just like a long stretch of winter ahead of you, and nothing to look forward to. So
holidays are officially over.
My birthday's in February. Oh, your birthdays are like the week after New Year's too. So like you hit that too, and then it's really like there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
Man. Trevor's and my birthday are both mid February. So
in February. Yeah.
It's like a nice little bump to keep you going and get you that much closer to summer.
A day where I can get donuts and not feel bad about myself. So.
That's every day. Anyway, that really is all the time we have for this episode. If you want to keep up to date on what we're doing, keep listening to this podcast on all the places, and like and subscribe and do the things so that we get ratings and whatever. You can also go to our website, bitwafflegames.com, to sign up for our monthly newsletter, which we have sent 2 out already. Kind of just a brief recap of the month.
Steven's a monster.
How dare you?
He just is.
You're a monster. And we also have Instagram. Post some pictures on there. Stuff we're doing. Yeah. Thanks again for being here, and we'll see you all next time.
Yep. See you guys.
All right. Bye.